In this episode of the Military Mindset for Business podcast, I'm talking with Stephen Kepper from Duke's Metal Mounting. First of all, it's great to have a Navy bloke on the show. Far too much green on here lately. But what I'm really interested in talking to Steve about today is micro businesses. Now, he shares his journey of being in the Navy as a bosun, particularly at a terrible time for a lot of Navy lads during the waves of boat people coming across from Indonesia and what the Navy had to do there, particularly in recovery operations. But not every business needs to do multi-million dollars in revenue. Sometimes the best kind of business is at your own place, at your own pace. It can be a side gig. It can be something that you do to create a different sense of purpose or direction in your life. So really enjoy chatting with Steve about Duke's metal mounting and what it's like being a bosun in the Navy. Stay tuned. G'day out there. My name's Pete Liston, and this is another episode of the Military Mindset for Business podcast, the podcast for the veteran business community. Today, I've got Stephen Kepper joining us. How you going, Steve?
Good, and yourself?
Mate, it's about time I got a few more Navy guys. There's just been a distinct Pongo set, on the on the pod lately. We're probably about 60-70% AJs. So, mate, it's great to get a Navy bloke on board because, to be honest, I don't know much about Navy, but less of me, more of you. Let's go back. Whereabouts did you grow up in this country of
Uh,
ours, or did you grow up?
so
Yeah.
did I grow up? No, I never grew up. I grew up in Townsville actually. Born in Townsville. Spent a few years in Canberra, but ended up my entire childhood and teenage formative years and a little bit of my adulthood was all in Townsville. So
Did you grow up in Townsville and not end up in Green, or is that the exact reason you didn't end up in Green?
it is actually. I was thinking about this the other day. When I was working, I used to work at the nightclubs. So you'd see all the AJs come in just causing a ruckus, and it didn't sort of appeal to me. Like obviously, I had intentions of joining the military, but yeah, just watching those guys on the piss was just a bit, yeah, it was a bit disgusting to me. For some of the things I saw, so I was
No,
like,
that's fair.
maybe not, maybe not.
What is it?
But then,
The old mad
no,
cow.
I used to glassy and DJ at the Bank nightclub.
Ah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Don't know.
so definitely did a few trips of Mad Cow, Bullwinkles. What's the other one? The Cry, which is now gone. That
Yeah,
was
yeah.
always a good one.
Mate, this is down Flint. Is it Flinders Street? If I stretch
Yeah,
my Townsville memory back.
yeah, Flinders
Um,
Street.
Well, I actually lived in Townsville before I joined the army as well, but I was a bit of a vagabond, fruit picking, traveling horticulturalist. And I ended up doing a lot of fruit picking through central Queensland, spent some time in Gayndah, Mundubra, then went out to, Emerald for some reason. I don't know why I ended up in Emerald for a few months, but then finally got to the big smoke of Townsville and did 6 months or so in Townsville. And that's when I walked into recruiting and signed up. But mate,
Okay.
what made you want to join the military? Obviously, there's an exposure there.
Yeah, so when I was so the reason I mentioned Canberra was my stepdad at the time was a sergeant with Fifth Aviation. He was a load
Yeah.
master, so we got posted around a bit, and through that, obviously going to Townsville, home base of Fifth Aviation, I got exposed to a lot of the military life.
Yeah.
Lived in Beatty Crescent. For if anyone grew up in Townsville back in the 80s and 90s, it was a part of the DHA neighbourhood. So pretty much all the
Is that
houses.
Heatley Vincent area?
Yep. In Vincent. Yeah, I think you know exactly the houses I'm talking about. They're all
Yeah, yeah,
one story, all pretty much the same.
yeah.
So I obviously got exposed to the military life through that. Always had an inkling of service as well. Always wanted to do something greater than myself, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess that was how I got started, or started getting into that into that mindset of joining the military in a way. And I
Well,
think that's
mate,
with a lot of people as well. It's always through family or through someone you know. I think is the main draw card because you get to see the life and the stories that they go through, and then you think, oh, I want to have my own.
the only reason I know Heatley Vincent area is because when I was in Townsville again as a pretty low skilled labourer kind of guy, I worked for a great guy called Lloyd Moody, who ran the Jim's Mowing franchises up there, and Lloyd was an army reservist. And so I got a job working with Lloyd, just pushing mowers and doing that stuff. And I used to mow heaps of those DHA. He had the DHA contract, so I used to mow all the
Yeah.
lawns around there. And it was great because it was almost underneath the airport, so you get the planes coming in and occasionally get some jets and all the five having flying around. But so why Navy though?
Um, well, I feel ashamed to admit it, but I actually was in Navy cadets for a few years. The main reason being there was nothing else to do in Townsville on a Friday nights
Yeah,
as a teenager, unless I wanted to go and cause trouble. And kind of didn't want to do that. I did, obviously, but not as
just
bad as
minimized
some
it.
of the. Yeah, just minimised it a fair bit. But yeah, no. Through that, I also had a friend join the Navy as well, and he was telling me about the lifestyle. And again, there was just that want to serve and all that sort of stuff. And yeah, I just put two and two together, and I thought, started looking at when I was starting to get more serious, starting to look at recruiting,
Yeah,
go through that process of them blowing smoke up your ass pretty much. But
yeah.
yeah, no, through that, I was originally actually trying to get in as a dog handler it, through, I think it was at Nowra, they still had Airbase Nowra, they still had dog handlers. So I was told
Yep.
the old, oh yes, you can join up and then you can just transfer over. And when I got in and said, oh yeah,
The
recruit
lies.
school, yep. When I got into recruit school, the first thing they said is, oh, actually they're disbanding the security dogs.
Yeah,
So
the lies.
I,
The recruit.
the lies.
Recruiters say, yeah, man, you can get in, choose your career, or everything's flexible. Nothing's flexible. So what do you do
Absolutely.
when you join up? Where is like the Kapuka of Navy? Is it Cerberus?
Yeah, Cerberus. So Cerberus is obviously for the lower ranks or the
Yep.
non-listed officers, and Creswell. Funnily enough, I actually did some time in Creswell as well. Is where officer training occurs, and Creswell's a beautiful part of the world.
Yeah, absolutely. So what do you do? What's recruit camp like? Because all I know is like army sweated up, bayonets, rifle range time. What are you
Uh,
doing in Navy? Same kind of stuff. Learn how to march and
Learning how to march obviously is a big one. Cleanliness. So we're not. I think it was explained to me very early on that the whole reason that the Navy try to keep everything so clean is dust.
mm,
We're fanatic about dust, but it's because fire. You don't want to have a fire on your boat, so you got to make
oh,
sure that you keep everything nice and clean. So there was a lot of dusting,
yeah,
a lot of marching. There wasn't so much in depth training as you would get, say, through Kapuka.
yeah,
My brother recently joined up as a combat engineer, so I had a
mm,
chat with him about what his experience is like. And there are some similarities, but there are a whole bunch of differences.
yeah,
There's no running through the bush. We did, I think, a week of training. Our final week was
yeah.
more sort of infantry style training, so to speak, But yeah, not nothing. It's nothing in comparison to actual army sort of recruit or army school.
It's like that. Individual experiences vary. Same with the military. And mate, do you go into these roles with a job predestined, or do you get allocated after you're in?
I No, so it is predestined. So I signed up to be a bosun's mate, which is essentially we. So I remember someone calling us sea commandos, which is a bit of a stretch, but
Yeah.
it's effectively the bosuns of the grunt of the Navy. We uh, paint ships, we drive ships, we jump out of helicopters occasionally.
Yep.
But we spent a lot of time at 2 o'clock in the morning on watch, rethinking our life choices. So as we all do. But yeah, no, I definitely went in pre-selected, ready to go. I'm not sure what it is like now, but I've never
Mm.
heard of like coming in and then getting put where you need to be. It's always you choose
You know where you're
essentially your own
going.
fate. Choose your fate essentially. Choose
But
your rate.
bosun,
Choose your fate.
yeah. With the bosuns though, that's again boarding parties. Would that be a
Yep.
primary kind of active job that you would do?
Depending on the situation, patrol boats you do a lot of boardings,
Yep.
and with I started on HMAS Stuart, so I got to do a trip to the Gulf. So we did
Yeah.
a couple of boardings there as well. But it's yeah, you won't really get as much boarding party experience if you're on bigger boats as you would on small boats.
Got it. It's just, I guess, tough to get down from all the way up there on a big boat, or it's just not their role to actually be doing that kind of thing. So,
Exactly, yeah.
Stuart is a frigate, is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Which means, again, excuse my ignorance here, and apologies for any Navy people listening. That's like a warship, yeah, shoot stuff,
Yeah,
shoot other
effectively, yeah.
ships.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's got a big gun. It's got a couple of 5 inch out the front, a couple of missile launchers, and a couple of divvies swinging off 50 cals. That's about it.
mate. I'll just get my one Navy warrior out the way. I was in Third Battalion, and it was actually there was one exercise called Sea Lion, and the other one was on Talisman Saber, and we went on Nimbler. And basically, we went cattle class in terms of getting on the ship, and I just couldn't believe that you could stack, 200 guys in half the size of a basketball court, sleeping, four high on bunks. One of the things I realized was, like, I'm not little. I couldn't roll over properly without touching the bunk above me. It was like that low scooping down.
Yep.
Man, it was terrible. I hated it. And then so the first of all, we went from Sydney to Townsville just to do ship experience. And then once we're in Townsville, a few months later for Talisman Sabre, we did an amphib assault onto part of Talisman Sabre. But the first like 12 days was submarine evasion. And when
Yep.
you're embarked army forces doing submarine evasion, there is nothing to do. So, mate, being a young lieutenant for the first like day or two, I was like, oh, we're going to do all this training and all these drills. But it was sea state 4 or 5 or something. I don't even know what that
Oh,
means, but
yep.
it was massive
I know
seas.
exactly what that means. Yep.
It was horrible. And after about day 2, I just sort of said to the sergeant, mate, you keep them out of trouble. We just don't have to speak to each other for the next 10 days, and we'll come back before we get off the ship. So, mate, I really didn't enjoy it. So I
Yeah.
don't know what Navy life is like, but ships go to sea, mate. This is what it's about.
Yeah, yeah, essentially. I mean, we don't stop for bad weather, that's for sure.
Oh, no, it was really, I swear for about 5 days, the ship did not stop going up, down, left, right, up, down, left, right. And the other
Yeah,
thing about Nimbler is, if I remember right, cattle class is right down the front at the bottom, and just the
yeah, yep,
banging of the ship onto the waves, mate. It was terrible.
yeah.
Um, so tell me about, you had a couple of trips away on the ship sail. Where did you go?
So yeah, so I joined in 2006. I went posted to Stuart 2007, started
Yep.
workups, and then in 2008, just on April 2008, I did a trip to the Gulf.
Yep.
Basically, all it was protecting oil terminals. Just doing boarding parties to ensure that fishermen in the area weren't carrying explosives or going to blow the place up.
Yep.
So it was shit. It's the only way
Yeah.
to describe the experience. It was basically, um, I'm sure anyone out there who's been to the Gulf can understand when it's 2 o'clock in the morning and it's still 48 degrees and 100% humidity.
Yeah.
It's crazy, absolutely crazy.
What are you doing? Like, this is the one thing that I don't understand about ship life or Navy life. I feel, at least in the army, like if there was, combat situations, that everyone can sort of help. But man,
Yeah.
if you're out at sea, a couple of ships start shooting each other, and you're
Mm.
fucked. What do you do if you're down the bottom? Like, how do you help? You just
Um,
pray.
Pretty much. So effectively, it's more prevalent on smaller boats I've found, but on large boats, everyone basically is trains to fight to win. Is this one of
Yeah.
the slogans that gets thrown around by good old sea training group? But
Yeah.
effectively, everyone's a firefighter, everyone's a medic,
Yeah.
everyone's
Yeah.
because if something happens out at sea, as you said, there's nothing. You've got no support, so you can't just
Yeah.
if your boat catches fire or you get injured, you can't just pop down to the hospital. You have to sometimes you're days away from a hospital or land. So
Right.
you really have to become self sufficient, and yeah, that's how you train. Just that, you're 1 second you could be up on the bridge on a lookout, next second you could be down plugging a hole in the engine room in a firefighting suit. So yeah, it's
And
great.
particularly particularly bosun, because is the role of bosun is like the jack of all trades on the boat, like because
Yeah, in a
or
way.
is everybody on the boat jack of all trades?
Everyone, oh yeah, everyone's a jack of all trades, but obviously you have your specific rules and all that, or roles. But yeah, no, it's a case of everybody fights, nobody quits. I mean,
Yeah,
quoting Starship Troopers here, but yeah, no, it's a very group minded mentality, very team minded mentality.
yep.
You've just got to accept the fact that you're going to be the help. And hope that if you need help, the other people around you can still help you. So
Oh, man, it gives me the heebie-jeebies to be honest, even thinking about it. But especially just the time, the time that one of the things that even going out bush, like in army, or you might go out for 14 days or 21 days or something like that. And I wasn't the best bush soldier, to be honest. Like I'd be like, oh, it's taking forever. But if you're sailing to the Gulf, mate, that's like, isn't it like a month over there or something?
I think it was about 3 weeks, something like
3 weeks. Oh,
that.
I just
Well, we got to stop off at Diego Garcia, so that was fun.
where's that's off south of India there somewhere, is it?
Yeah, just near Madagascar. So it's for those who don't know, it's a British owned island that the US have rented,
Yep.
essentially, and they've got a massive airbase on there. And funny story. When we rocked up, we got told if we'd come the day before, we would have been part of the riot. And we're like, "What riot?"
Right.
When apparently all the people on the island are allowed 2 cases of beer per person per day, and the plane that was delivering it was late,
Yeah.
and all the beer went out, and there were it almost caused a
Oh,
riot.
mate. What about so you got your golf trip out, the first one, that's on a big ship. What about your second trip?
So I was on Ardent One. So that basically how the patrol boats work up here is you have I'm not sure. Again, this is going back to when I was in. I'm not sure what it's like now, but you have multi crews, so 3 crews
Hmm.
to 2 boats. So you'll always have one on deployment, one alongside, and one ashore,
Yep.
either doing training or essentially your rest period. But that doesn't mean that you won't get asked to go in crew for other crews. So you could be on I think my first trip out when I came back straight away because I was the new guy. I got poached to go jump on another boat for straight like back to back trips essentially.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a bit weird. Yeah, it's hard to explain that. It got me thinking about it.
And are these like a month at a time, or is it a couple of months at a time? This is doing,
Around
is it
about a month,
Resolute?
month and a half. It was Resolute, yes.
So
Um, I
that's
was I was there before the turn back the boats policy. So it was described as probably the most high operational tempo that Norcom had ever seen.
mm,
We were getting told every morning you get ready to do a briefing. You get told yes, there's the threat matrix is we're going to have Intel says there's 6 boats coming in. Um, so we go looking for 6 boats and we only find one, maybe two. Um,
yep.
and I guess you can guess where the other 4 or 5 disappeared, straight down, straight they sunk essentially. So
Yeah.
you'd be doing a lot of recoveries essentially and
Yeah.
rescues because what they used to do is send the boats out, get to a certain point, and they'd basically have another boat come out, pick up the driver or pick up the smuggler, and they'll basically turn to someone on the boat and go, all right, keep heading that way. And after a day, here's a satellite phone, call up AMSA and say you're sinking and need to be rescued. And that was essentially it. They were just left on their own. And we'd basically go and pick up the pieces.
Hang on, so are we about 2011 or 12 here or something like that?
Yeah, 2011, 2012. Yeah.
So just again, before Stop the Boats, this is when we were getting, and again, not that the numbers are that, whatever the numbers were, but lots and lots of small, rickety bathtub type boats trying
Yep.
to cross to get to Christmas Island, was it?
Yep. Christmas Island and Ashmore Island were the 2
Ashmore
main
Reef,
ones.
that's right.
So that's it. So basically, you'd come down through. Love if I have a little map right here, but
Yeah.
basically you come through the strait and essentially either turn left to turn right to Christmas Island or left to Ashmore Island, and then basically yeah, that was what they were told. And again, they just pick up the phone, call up, say we're in trouble, which they were, because as you mentioned, rickety bathtubs there. Basically, they get old, literally sinking fishing boats and pack as many people as they humanly can on it, and then just send them on their way. So rickety is a very, very, very big understatement.
Yeah. Like a really, for me, and again, excuse my ignorance for anyone out there, but army and a lot army took a lot of weight in places like Afghanistan in terms of and plus the other services that attended. I'm not just saying army only, but army took a lot of weight there, particularly from a trauma perspective of
Absolutely,
the
absolutely.
soldiers. But at the same time, uh, like when you say recovery, to put it blunt, you're pulling bodies out of the water.
Yeah, pretty much. Either recovering people off the boats, basically, if the boat could still, when we board, we'd make sure the boat could still actually float to the destination. We'd they either go under their own power or we tow them. Or otherwise, we'd basically take them off their boat and put it on ours and sink their boat because it's a navigational hazard essentially, and
Yeah.
honestly, a quarantine hazard. Yeah,
Yeah.
the
Rats and
smell
bugs.
is oh no, not rats and bugs, just people. As you
People.
imagine, you've got a boat that can only really handle a crew of 5 to 6 with about 150 to 200 people on
My
board
God.
for weeks on time. And the smell is just, it's unique. There's only one other place that that smell exists, and that's in prison.
Is this is families, men, women,
Yeah,
children.
yep, the whole shebang. But yeah, when you said recovery, yeah, that's one of the unfortunate things. As I said, you get told there were 6 boats, you only find one or two, and the rest of it you'd be picking up bodies or picking up suitcases.
Yeah.
That was actually a trigger for me for a while. Was a suitcase. I couldn't look at suitcases just because I knew what it, you'd
What it
be,
meant.
yeah,
Man,
because
this
you'd be
is
cruising along on watch, trying to doing lookout, and as soon as you see a suitcase, you know what comes after the
yeah.
person who owned that suitcase.
And these, okay, like just from a personal perspective, I'm relatively pro immigration because first of all, God, there's so much amazing food in Australia. But generally, that's a bit facetious and flippant. But generally,
Hey,
I've
let's find an Aussie that doesn't like a 2 a.m. kebab.
that's right. But I've worked on, particularly in agriculture, when I was before in the army, when just doing farming and laboring and stuff. So
Yep.
many of the people that were bending their backs in the paddocks in the fields were like, you know, Vietnamese that came off the boats or, first generation people. And I remember this
Mm,
one Vietnamese guy that I was working on a flower farm with, barely spoke English, but we used to have dinner every Tuesday and have warm VBs with him. But he came over. He was a South Vietnamese copper that came over on a boat, but his kids were like doctors and architects, and the things that they've contributed.
mm.
So for me, I always sort of think it's an irony when we say what's the national anthem for those that come across the seas with boundless
Your
plains to
boundless
share,
plans to share. Yep.
except if you come across the sea. So let's just
Yeah.
maybe
If you come across the sea illegally.
illegally. But who's come, mate? There's no boats to Australia legally, is there? But I guess from my perspective, like again, if I was in their situation and I've got 2 kids, and if I was desperate, I wouldn't say that I wouldn't be someone that wouldn't
Well,
do whatever it
that
took.
was the thing. I only ever ran into one boat of what I would consider genuine refugees. It
Mm.
was during when because the Uyghur Muslims were being
Oh,
uh,
yep,
taken out by the Tamil Tigers.
yep.
Um, we just happened to stumble. It was literally just stumbled across a boat on patrol one day. And it turned out that they'd been at sea for about 2.5 months.
2.5 months.
Yeah, and what had happened was the Tamil Tigers had basically surrounded them, herded them to the port, and just said either get in the boat or get in the water and drown, or we'll kill you. And that was it. That was the only true boat of refugees I ever saw. Everything outside of that was just people taking advantage of the policies, because at the time it was much easier to come to get what you need from Australia, like your benefits and all that stuff, if you came through as a asylum seeker. Otherwise,
Yeah,
if you
right.
went through the normal process of applying for Australian citizenship, you wouldn't get any of those benefits, or not a lot of the same benefits. So for a lot of people, the reasoning was, if I go this way, it was also cheaper as well. Yeah,
Is
they
it
decided to just pick up their families, chuck them on a boat, and come across the water. And at the time,
crazy?
it infuriated me. It
Yeah.
still to this day infuriates me that not the it was not the kids, it was the fact that adults knowingly, because it was well known, like you could die. There was, I'd say, 75%, 75 to 80% chance that you were going to die on a boat crossing.
God.
Just going, that's not a figure. That's just from my experience. I'm pulling that figure from. But yeah, the fact that
So
they
this is
knowingly
an
put their
economic
kids in these
shortcut.
situations. Yeah, it was an economic shortcut. It's the whole reason they
I didn't
did
realize
the
that.
whole turn back the boat policy, was to stop basically people coming in just literal waves.
Yeah.
And the amount of, I'd hate to calculate the amount of human life that was lost because of it. I'd imagine, I'd say there's thousands, if not tens of thousands of boats in the Sunda Strait sunk, still probably with people on board. So
Right.
it was just a waste of human life, and people just took advantage of it. I remember this one time I picked up a boat, and there were these two ladies with fascinators on, and I was like, "Why are you
Hang on,
dressed up?"
like the races.
Yep, they were dressed to the nines for the races. They'd been on the boat for about a week, and we picked them up, and they were just shocked as to, this is not what we were expecting. And we're like, really, really. So we got them on the boat. We are cruising along. We got to Ashmore Reef, and they're like, "Oh, where's the hotel? We really want a coffee." I'm like, "What hotel?" Because, well, we were told there's a hotel at Ashmore Island. I went, "You see that patch of dirt over there, that little sandy bar?" I'm like, "Yep." "You see those two trees?" "Yep." "That's it. That's Ashmore Island." And they were like, "Oh, but this is not what we paid for." And you just, yeah, the audacity. Like, I've never wanted to throw people overboard before, but there were definitely a few contenders.
So do you think is this straight deception or
Oh,
deception
absolutely.
from the people smugglers and just straight naivety from the
Yeah, a bit of both.
customers?
A bit of both, I think. As I said, it was very well advertised what Australia was. I think at the time they had ads in, because everyone was coming from Bali essentially. Was the
Yeah,
big
yeah.
so there were ads in English and Arabic and a few other
Don't
languages,
come.
obviously. Yeah,
Yeah.
don't come. If you come by boat, you will die.
Mate,
And
this is
no, they didn't listen. Yeah, it was
yeah.
ridiculous. As I said, to this day, it still angers me. Not because of the not because of the kids. It was the adults that put the kids in those situations.
Well, that yeah, what I was saying before about would I do it? There's desperation, and then there's escaping and giving your kids a better life. But if you just, I don't know if I could put my kid on the ship, like on a boat
No,
like that. You know,
no, God, no. As I
you,
said, there was only one true boat of refugees I ever saw. The rest were all essentially coming because of, I think you said that economic immigration.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that's essentially what it was. Just coming because they knew that if you came to Australia as a refugee, you'd get all these benefits, you get all this money. They'd have their families who'd done it, or family members who'd done it, and would call up and say, "This is what you do. This is how you go through." Um, but yeah, no, there was. Yeah, it's still unfathomable to me sometimes as to just what occurred
so, mate,
and
without
how it's
being,
just not spoken up. No, go for it, man.
I was going to say, without being too political and just speaking from personal experience, was the turn back the boats thing a good thing for the average Navy bloke to sort of well, when did this all stop?
So it stopped about the time I discharged, so around 2013. They started,
Yep.
I think, 2013, 2014, they implemented the stop the boats policy, or turn back the boats. So it said, but it didn't do anything,
Mm.
because still there's, uh, when you're at sea, there's still a obligation. If someone is in distress, you go and help them. So they
Yeah,
just
it's the
still
law
just
of the
took
sea.
advantage.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the law of the sea. So as I said, you're there by yourself. So the only hand you have is yourself, or the hand of others that are around you. So yeah, it was. I think, in my personal view, didn't change much. It did reduce some things because there was a lot more pushback from the government in regards to allowing people into Australia who come through that way. A lot more people got deported. They took a tougher stance, which of course started to slowly reduce the numbers over time, but it still took ages for that to all filter through. So yeah, in the end, it wasn't really, yeah, it wasn't really working. Whatever they were doing, just yeah, it wasn't working.
I sort of feel how were you going at the time with the whole "is this what I signed up for" thing? Like, is
Well,
as a bosun, do you expect this kind of stuff or?
no, this was not what I was expecting at all. It was. I don't think anything could have prepared me for what I experienced. I don't think anything can, but
No.
nothing can. But I'd already decided to discharge years before that. But the only reason I'd stuck in was because I needed a steady paycheck.
Yeah.
But it was around that time that was pretty much the tipping point for me. I just went, I'm done. I need out. I need to get out of
Yeah.
the military.
Well, mate, I just want to sort of recognize, I don't know, you know, I think Army, because of the war fighting in Afghanistan, maybe just gets a little bit more profile around that period and of, unfortunately for the people that, suffered and suffering. But for Navy, man, this is, I know any other way to describe it as part just being full on, man. And just, I don't know how people can prepare yourselves for that, being in that environment and just seeing that stuff on a daily basis. So the dice
we were,
cast for you. Sorry,
yep.
after you.
Oh, so we were prepared in a way. Like they did show videos and photos and all that, but once you're there, it's a different beast. It really is. Nothing can prepare you. No preparation
My other thing
at
is you're
all
out
can
at
prepare
sea
you.
too, man. There's no escape when you're out at sea
Nope.
because you're just on the boat or ship,
Mm-hmm.
and you'll do it again tomorrow, and you'll do it again the next day, and you'll do it again the next day.
I remember on one boat I did a crew swap on off-field spotting. Every day they played Groundhog Day. Every
Yeah,
morning in the mess, it was perfect, absolutely perfect.
That's something I can relate to. That I do love that. It's
Mm-hmm.
just one of my favorite movies of all time, and already I can hear the "They say we're young and we don't
Mm-hmm.
know." No, it's going through my head already.
Yes.
So, mate, you decided, transition time to occur. Um,
Yep.
when did you get out? 2013, you mentioned?
Yeah, so I got out in December 2013,
Yep.
28th of December 2013, actually. I remember my sign up and discharge dates quite clearly. So, yeah, I got out. Basically, I had a job lined up,
Yep.
but it skew for a bit. So I did a bit of delivery driving and did a little bit of this and that. At the time, we just had our daughter, so it was good for me. That was one of the other reasons I wanted to leave as well because we
Yeah.
had our son while I was in Creswell, and just whilst going back out to sea, it was good ashore because I had that bonding time and
Yeah.
experience with him, but obviously going a bit later in life, knowing that I was going to be out at sea and back away from my kids, I was like, I don't want to do that to my daughter. So it
It's a
was
long time
basically
away.
timing. Yeah, it's crazy. It's especially in the first few years of a child's life. You don't, and obviously there's personal things like, I didn't know my dad when I was growing up. We didn't meet until years later. But yeah, I didn't want to be that sort of absent parent. For my kids, especially during those formative years. So that was the big decision for me. Plus, also, I wanted to help the wife out. She pumping out a
Mm.
kid, of course.
But this is military life. Soldiers go bush, ships sail, and planes fly away, and it's just, uh, I just have nothing but admiration for the people who stick it out and grind it out and reach, senior ranks or senior officers, whatever that may be, or
I,
because
it's funny. Sorry, I laugh because I only ever got my offered my hook or my promotion leading seaman once I put my discharge in. And I remember
is that
my
really a
nav came
carrot?
down. Oh no! I remember the navigator came down and goes, "Oh, Stephen, guess what? If you don't discharge, they're going to say you can get your hook only, but you just
Come
have to
on,
stay in for an extra year." I laughed so hard,
come on,
I was
man.
crying, and then I looked up, and I just burst out laughing again. I
Yeah,
think I was laughing for 10, 15 minutes straight, like not a chance.
mate. It's you got to do better than that.
Oh
But
yeah.
there's once it's done, it's done. Like
Mm,
once your heart's out, you may as well get out.
mm.
Mate, pretty rough trot with things that happened during your career. How did you find transition and settling into the other side?
Still to this day, it's a struggle. It's I've had obviously had a few jobs after the Navy, and a few experiences as well. But yeah, it follows you. It follows you everywhere. And all the injustices that I felt were done to me or that I saw still this day are following me. So it was difficult at first, but I was lucky in a way. So I was actually in and out of prison for 4.5 years.
Yep.
As a prison guard. My
Yep.
wife hates that joke. But
Well, I was for a moment you got me there because I was like, oh, are we going on this tangent here, or what are we?
yeah, so
Am I going to pick that scab or?
I know. But it was good because there was a lot of I joined up with a few veterans. Were on my
Yep.
course as well, so we were all sort of just fresh out, still sort of struggling to find our way. But because we were in corrections, it was sort of we knew what a government job was going to be like, so it wasn't so scary. We knew what to expect. We always when it was always funny to watch everyone start crying about, oh, I have to work on the weekend, or they can't bloody change my shift, and we're just like, that's just a Tuesday,
Right.
mate. You
Yeah.
have no idea.
Right. I used to go for 6 months and not come back, let alone one weekend. I used
Oh
to get
no, no, no. I think I mentioned it when we were talking earlier. My trip was 5 months and 28 days, only
yeah.
because they if they made it at one day more, they would have had to give us a 2 week break. So it
How
was
just
literally
rude, mate.
6 months out. Yeah, oh yeah,
Just
that's rude.
straight up, no other term to just straight up fucking with you.
Oh
Just
yeah,
just
and I
just
had the worst trip. I was not well on that trip.
yeah.
I was not in a good place mentally, and they picked up on that. I received quite a few charges. I didn't get to
Yeah.
step ashore for quite some time because I was on our charges and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, mistakes that I made. That obviously, in retrospect, I could have made a few different choices, but some I'm like, I'll take the charge. It was worth it.
Yeah. Any brig time? Is that jail time on a ship?
No. Big, all you, it's basically called person under punishment or pups. So all you do
Oh,
is
yeah,
extra watches. You got to report at certain times of the day and night in uniform. I think it's like first at 5 o'clock, last one's at 2300.
yeah.
In rig, ready to go, and then you'll get a direction as to today. I think I spent my first time in Abu Dhabi in the paint locker on the
Oh,
just
that's cool, man.
completely just repainting the paint locker.
So everyone
Um,
else is going ashore and having a good time, and you're just like, man, this is just EAD. This is killer.
well, it didn't help that I heard a rumor that the XO and Chief Swain at the time had gotten together and said, "Oh, since everyone's on Gulf money at the moment or deployment money, we'll just charge them with as much as we want and as high as we want." I think later I found out that a few of my charges actually got quashed because there was a investigation that I didn't know occurred, and it went to the military justice tribunal, and they went, "Why on earth did this occur? Why did this occur?" Never got my money back, and I'll never get that time back as well. So
Yeah.
yeah, it just goes to show that yeah, there was a lot going on that trip, a lot
Yeah.
going on.
Well, mate, I just hope you were caught trying to pinch some booze out of the officers' mess or whatever they call it, the wardroom.
If I was going to do something in the boardroom, it would be pinching booze.
Well, mate, let's move on before we dig any deeper holes. Dig up, Pete. Dig
Yeah,
up.
yeah, yeah.
Mate, so one of the things that I really wanted to talk to you about is what we call own place, own pace businesses.
Yep.
Because you were mentioning before that, getting, working in prisons, and do you feel like you could go back to a regular job, 9 to 5, and
Oh
just
God,
rock
no.
up? Yeah.
So my career progression was Navy. Then I worked in Navy for 7.5 years. Then I was in prison for 4.5 years, and then prison guard. I should still say in
In
prison.
prison. Yeah,
And
that's cool. Yeah.
well, in a way, you sort of were.
Yes, that's where you go. You're in prison.
Pretty much. And then worked at the council as a local laws compliance officer. So
Oh, yeah.
I did a lot of essentially all three levels of government through work. And when I and I would say this because on the 19th of October 2022, I had a massive meltdown at work. I ended up causing a couple of $1,000s worth of property damage. I ended up with nearly $10,000 in legal bills, a 12-month suspended sentence with the 3 willful destruction property charges not recorded, thankfully, which is good because I intend to go to the US in October.
Yeah.
Don't
listen to this podcast. Anyone from the US?
Yeah. Or if someone wants to help me with my S02 visa application, that would be awesome. But it got to the point where I realized that I cannot work, or I cannot let someone have authority over me again. It's just not going to happen. Because with the Navy, it was officers and even my fellow sailors that were the problem. There was a bit of physical abuse, but it's mainly all mental. They saw me as an easy target. I presented an easy target because at the time I was young, I was naive, and I kept thinking my mum's words, just think of the paycheck, and that's all I was thinking of, because I grew up quite not in the wealthiest place. So that's what kept me going, and I think that's what the downfall initially was. Then when I was in prison, it got to a point where I realised I was trusting the crims or the green shirts more than the staff. At least if a crim was going to stab you in your back, they'd tell you about it to your face. Whereas staff, they were just the nepotism at screw it, I'll mention names. The nepotism at Lotus Glen is ridiculous. I think we could do a whole podcast just on that. And then with council, it wasn't so much. I remember I was telling my supervisor quite clearly, it wasn't the job, it wasn't the people I work with, it was the people I work for. So basically, as a localist compliance officer, I was the guy who rocked up to deal with complaints. And the thing about the northern beaches of Cairns is a lot of people have that. It's quite an expensive area. But a lot of people have that. I guess you say that's mindset that I pay your rate, so you work for me, and just expect you to do. If you don't do what they want, they'll complain and harass you until they get what they want, because they again think that they're your boss. So, and it was that sort of mentality that really drove me off the edge, and it's what made you go, right, I'm done, completely done. I've got to get out.
Yeah,
I've got to stop putting myself in the position like that. Yep.
So tell us now about Dukes. What is it, and where did it come from?
Yeah, so Dukes is a metal mounting service. I'll grab that out in a sec. Bought some pictures. So it actually started back in 2009, the idea. So I had my 2 metals, had it sent my way to get mounted. I won't mention names of the company, but when they sent it back, I had my AASM, my rare campaign, and I also had my Vietnam campaign medal.
Yep. What? Hang on.
Yeah. So they had attached the Vietnam campaign medals to them as well. So I called them up. This is a week before Anzac Day. I called them up and said, look, you've screwed this order. And the response I got was just terrible. So that's sort of like, well, I could do this myself. It's not that hard. But, eventually that's where I think the idea started. And then proof over time, when I was getting more medals, I got my OSM and my 4-year medal. And it annoyed me that to get a medal remounted, you have to pay for the entire amount again.
Yeah.
And that didn't sit with me right at all, because I'm like, well, no, why? Why not use what I've already got? I'll give it to you, just add to it. But and then when I decided to leave council, was about, I say I'll leave, but left with quite a story. I had just gotten my service pension. I was seriously considering going into part-time or quitting and retiring. And then I was sitting there one day. I'd just gotten, I think there was the Douglas decision happened, so my pension increased a bit, and went, oh, I could actually live comfortably off this. And then I was thinking around the same time as well, I was toying with the idea of buying part of a metal mounting business up here, Marie's Metal Mounting. But that didn't come to fruition. So I thought, I've got the time, I've got the opportunity. Because of the court case, I had a bit of money as well. So I went, you know what? Why not?
Kick it off.
Kick it off.
Mate, quick question for you is, I've got my little gong rack up here.
Yep, yep,
But they're all fakies, right?
yeah, yeah.
I've all my originals are still sitting in a box in the garage, in their original packets. Um, like I've only ever got replicas, but what do you do with the originals, mate? Can you send them off and get them mounted
Well,
properly as
I'll
well?
show you what you can do. Well, that's obviously a service I do as well. I always tell everyone replicas are the go because the last thing you want to do is lose your originals on Anzac Day.
After
But
27 beers
yeah, after 27 beers. But yeah,
before
essentially,
lunch,
let me see if this will pop up. No, hold on. I'm going to have to get rid of the background. Um,
just hold one
but
sec.
yep, yep, ready.
Yeah, show us that. I'm sure. What are we going to show us again?
Yep. So that's Cameron Baird, as you can see, the legend
Yeah,
himself. But
yeah.
yeah, this is essentially what I do tell people to do with their originals. These are obviously not his originals, but
Yeah, absolutely.
get a board up, put them on a frame, display them. One of the other reasons I got into metal mounting was when I left the Navy, I didn't go to, everyone check out the racing sim in the background there. I didn't wear my medals for quite some time. I didn't go to Anzac
Yeah,
Day or Remembrance Day. I was just, my mindset at the time was one, I was very jaded with my service. I still am. And plus, as a bosun's mate, one of the roles is parade and ceremonial. So I'd been doing Anzac Day marches and then
yeah.
Remembrance Day marches and ceremonies for ages, and I just wanted a break.
Had a
But
fort party,
then
man. Brutal.
yeah, it's an experience. Like it's an honor in a way, but it's still
I'm
yeah,
an
it's
officer, man.
annoying.
I'm shit at drill. I'm shit. I'm
Ah,
terrible.
all officers are. I should know. When I was at Creswell, I actually did officer parade and ceremonial officer for officers. So yeah, it's
Oh, mate, terrible.
yeah, you hit it
Like,
right on the head.
man, I
But
didn't. Yeah, sorry, after you.
oh yeah, I was saying so it was actually at the prison one day. This supervisor came in who we all hated, and he was wearing his corrective services medal that he just got awarded
Hmm.
on his chest, puffed out, acting like he was king shit. So me and a few of the guys who I joined up with were like, well, we should start wearing our ribbon bars,
Ah,
and just to put him in his place. And then that was a joke. And then I started realizing, well, what about the people I know who can't wear their medals anymore? Because
mm,
for whether they've passed or they just yeah, they can't look at them. So I decided that if I'm not going to wear them for myself, I should wear it for them. And then from that, yeah, I guess that sort of cemented the whole metal mounting business as well. This is what I usually tell people as well. If you're ashamed of, even if it's just your strawberries and cream, your ADM, wear it. You've done something
yeah,
that no
I
one
agree,
else can
man.
do. Yeah, you've done something no one else very few people have experienced or done. So it is something to be worn with pride, and that's why I try to push onto people, or not push. That's why I try to say to people, no, I'm getting into the metal mounting business, or when I'm talking about their metals, it's like wear them with pride. Don't
Yeah,
don't be ashamed, even if it's just one. Just wear it. You've got it for a reason.
mate. I still am not a marcher, like in terms of I've never done the middle of the day Anzac marches, like the 11, 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock one.
Yep.
But I do, where we are here at Terrigal on the Central Coast, there is a little community one at 5 o'clock in the morning. And so I have in the last 2 years since my kids have gone to school, they march with the school. So I
Yep.
do that little lap around the corner and do Anzac Day there. But look at each unto their own.
Yeah. Well,
It's just
it
yeah.
actually started with me. I went down one year here. I live in Trinity Beach here in Cairns. So I went down to the dawn service there one day when I decided to finally start going back to dawn services. And the one thing that hit me was there's that part where they say any current or former serving members who would like to lay a reef. No one walked up. I'm like,
Yeah.
hold on, that's not right. So the next year I thought, you know what, I'll lay a reef or I'll lay
Yeah.
bouquet of flowers. I even put a list, put the word out for people to give me some names to add to a list that I stick on the bouquet every year of people that we know who have passed in the service of our country or
Yeah.
passed after the service of their country, unfortunately. And then my kids saw what I was doing, and now they come every year, every dawn service, and we all three of us go and lay a bouquet or lay a wreath. And then yeah, it was a little humbling. It's very humbling experience. And I highly recommend anyone who's attending a service, especially as a veteran or a veteran family member, lay a bouquet.
Yeah, I've never done it, mate.
Show
I
your
watch it, but
show
I've
your
never
respect,
done it.
show your love. And
Yeah,
again, if you're not doing it for yourself, do it for the people you know who can't.
yeah, mate, I
And
think
that's been
that's
my philosophy. Yeah.
I like that. Um, Medals.
Yes.
How often do you get a phone call on the 10th of April and it's like, oh, Steve, mate, got my kid's just gone to school. I need another set of miniatures done up. Can you get them out to me next week? Uh,
Oh,
it must be
that's
like a
pretty much
boom and a
my.
bust.
Yes, it's peaks and troughs, and it's a very big peak, two very big peaks, and then a big old trough in the middle. Um,
Yeah.
so you got Anzac
So,
Day, nothing, then Remembrance Day. And it's always that. Yeah, I try to through my Facebook, my business Facebook, I try and put out a little reminder saying, hey, a month before
yep.
and 2 months before, saying, hey, it's getting close. Think about it. Go have a look at your rack. Go see if it's all ready, or just get it in people's heads that, hey, because yeah, it's crazy. The last, I think I've had people the night before asking me for medals, and it's like,
Yeah,
dude,
it's
it's
not
just not
happening,
going to
mate.
happen. Yeah,
It's not
I,
happening. But
I
but
rely
again,
on a
like,
lot of express posts and the postage gods around that time of year. So
but again, as people, get kids, and you might want your kids to wear a set of miniatures if they hit kindergarten and wear them to the school
yeah, and that's
Anzac Day
what something
service or something like that.
yeah, that's what I tell other people as well. Is if you buy, and it's something I do, I will occasionally chuck in a free ribbon bar or a free set of miniatures
Yeah,
every now and then, just because um, the kids, get your kids involved.
yeah,
Show get them to I've been trying to get off thinking about asking the school here that my kids go to maybe get them once a year to look up a veteran, go to
yeah,
the War Memorial and pick a name and do a bit of research on them to get to know
yeah. I think
that
it's
side of
brilliant.
history. Yeah, but yeah, I always tell people, yeah, get your kids involved, because it's the only way for it to keep going, because we're getting older. We're going to be at a stage where we can't march anymore, and it's going to be
Yeah,
their turn to march. So yeah.
mate. Just before we wrap, I'll come back to this own pace, own place business. Now, not every I'm really advocate, single issue zealot about veteran enterprise entrepreneurship. I love it for people to search for self-employment as a career path, but you're in a position where you don't necessarily, like need it. But what does this thing from a purpose perspective do for you other than being, a veteran on a military pension? This creates a different definition or a different
Mm.
identity for you.
It does, yeah. That's actually a really good question. It's something I've been thinking of as well, because the word purpose actually has popped up a lot in my head recently. So being a
Mm,
person of purpose. So for me, it's just a way to one, keep myself busy. As you
yeah,
imagine, I'm retired. I'm nearly 40 and I'm retired, so I have a lot of spare time on my
yeah,
hands. But it's also a way to just give back to the veteran community in a positive way, not in negative. Because I think the only people that can really support veterans are other veterans. So,
yeah,
and it's not just catching up and giving someone a medal. It's having a chat with them, getting an understanding of the history, especially with relatives medals. There's some amazing
yeah,
stories I've heard over the years. There was one for a friend of mine I did for his great grandfather's medals, and he was a prisoner of war. It was just something part of his part of his life that I didn't know about. So I got to hear that story and how all those struggles and how he got through it. It was, yeah, you meet some incredible people and hear some amazing stories through it. Um, but yeah, as I said, it's a way for me to give back. It's a way to keep myself busy. And you you mentioned, there's not, because I'm on a pension, there's no real sort of need for income so much, and that's why I think I've set my prices so low.
mm,
Because I've looked at a lot of the other places in Australia that do metals, and I've just undercut them. Nothing personal against them, but I just think
just a need thing.
yeah, it's too expensive what it is. It
Yeah,
really, truly is. So I charge $50 per metal for the first three, then $40 afterwards,
yep,
which I think is a very fair price. Because
yeah.
for me, yes, there is a little bit of profit from it. I need to pay for my
Well, it's a
beer
business, mate.
somehow, so I
Yeah, it's a
need to
business.
pay for my beer somehow, and obviously I need to
Yeah,
pay supplies and all that. But yeah, no, it's also a way of trying to get people more involved in their history as well, and especially their military history. Like by
Yeah, I
providing
love
a
it.
cheaper service, more people will come to it. As long as I try and keep the quality up as best as I can. I haven't had any complaints yet. So,
Yeah.
and if you do have any complaints, they can keep it to themselves. Yeah, it's just there's a lot. You've really got me thinking. Yeah, there's a lot to unwrap there that I haven't really thought about myself. Yeah.
Well, I just think it's for me, it's just you're a small business owner, mate. Regardless of how big or small that business is, it's the next part of the transition in your life. It's
Mm-hmm.
something that you can learn more about, get better at, and
Yep.
ultimately, I think it's just coming back to it. It's we are bounded by purpose. It was such a purpose-driven career that
Yep.
it's just what are you doing next? And so I really encourage, like, first of all, business is not for everyone, and you shouldn't just think, oh, I'm going to do this because it's chasing the great idea fairy. But
Mm.
you also don't need to have huge visions of multi-million dollar corporate. If you can just turn
Yeah.
over
Yeah.
10 grand a year, 20 grand a year as a bit of a side gig, bit of a side hustle,
It's funny
maybe.
because I think the most profitable year was actually about $4,000.
Yeah, but
So I definitely have
because
I definitely no aspirations for mega towers here or
but what I love
skyscraper in
about
front
that
offices.
is, mate, it's your own pace at your own
Mm-hmm.
place. And when
Yeah.
you surge, you can surge. When you need to take time off, you can have a time off. So,
Yeah.
mate, I really appreciate you coming on and being honest and sharing a story. And I just want
Yeah.
to
No, I'm always happy to have
recognize
a chat.
service. Yeah, it's brilliant, mate. So,
And if anyone out there, if anyone's listening and wants to have a chat, I've got a lot of time on my hands. I'm always happy to reach out. And yeah, I think, as I said, the only people that can really support veterans are other veterans. So
yeah.
I'm not sure. Times.
And you're in the
Yeah,
Cairns area, if anyone's up
yeah,
there.
in the Cairns area, bloody yeah. If anyone wants to screenshot that thing,
Yeah. Well, mate, we'll put all of the details and all of that into the show notes below. But if you are like me and you've never got your originals mounted, they're still in boxes in the garage somewhere.
and yeah,
Think about getting,
frame
something
them.
framed
Yeah,
up.
find a
If you've got,
photo, find something. Yeah, just
yeah,
just get them out
if you,
there. Don't be ashamed of them. And I think a lot of people are ashamed of them, and they
yeah,
shouldn't be, because when I look at my medals, I'll have flashbacks and I'll have
yeah,
experiences of my experiences and all that stuff. And sometimes they do feel heavy, but they're mine. I earned them. There's
yeah,
it'll be a cold day before someone tries to take them off
yeah.
me. So
Yeah, mate, I really appreciate your time. So if you've got kids and you haven't got a set each for the kids, or
yeah,
just get in touch with Steve at Duke's Metal Mounting up in Cairns, but he operates all over Australia and really anywhere in the world. If your grandparents, if you haven't got a set, if you've got a cousin who's got a set of your grandparents' medals and you want to have some of your own kids, let them wear them on Anzac Day with pride, mate. But look, really
absolutely.
appreciate you jumping on and having a chat today. We'll put all of the details out there. Otherwise, Duke's Metal Mounting, just put that into Facebook and you'll find Steve. Brilliant, mate. You take care. Really appreciate you sharing a journey today.
No dramas. Always happy to chat.
Yeah, brilliant. My name's Pete. Thanks for joining in for another episode of the Military Mindset for Business podcast. See you all later.